In this video, we explore the rarest and most valuable top Canadian coins, uncovering their fascinating history, unique designs, and astonishing value. From hidden treasures to record-breaking auctions, discover how these coins became worth millions and captivated collectors worldwide. The Canadian 1 cent 1964 is one of the most fascinating coins in Canadian numismatic history, admired by collectors and historians alike. This small copper piece is not only a symbol of Canada's economic heritage but also carries with it a story that has grown more valuable with time. The coin's enduring appeal lies in its historical background, unique variations, and its unexpected rise in value to become one of the most desirable collectibles in the world. The 1 cent 1964 features the young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by sculptor Mary Gillick, which was widely used on Canadian coinage during the early years of her reign. This portrait depicts the youthful queen with a laurel wreath in her hair, a design that reflected optimism and a new era following her coronation in 1953. On the reverse, the coin bears the iconic maple leaf twig, designed by G. E. Kruger Gray, which has become one of the most recognized Canadian national symbols. When the 1 cent 1964 was minted, Canada was experiencing both cultural and economic changes, with the penny being an essential part of daily transactions. Millions of these coins were produced for circulation, but among them, rare varieties and errors emerged. These unusual pieces, often struck with slight differences or minting mistakes, are what turn an ordinary coin into a treasure sought after by collectors worldwide. The coin's rarity comes not from its general circulation, but from specific variations of the 1 cent 1964 that display distinctive features. Some examples include double dies, off-center strikes, and proof-like qualities that were not meant for public distribution. Such unique traits elevate the coin far above its face value and transform it into a museum-worthy artifact of Canadian minting history. Collectors have long recognized the significance of the 1 cent 1964 and its place in the story of Canadian currency. As the penny was gradually phased out of circulation in later decades, the earlier issues gained even more attention. The fact that Canada officially discontinued the penny in 2012 has only intensified interest in older dates like 1964, making them increasingly rare in pristine condition. The preservation of these coins adds another layer to their rarity. Many of the 1 cent 1964 were used daily and subjected to wear, leaving only a small number in high-grade, uncirculated condition. These untouched examples are often the ones that bring extraordinary prices at auction, as collectors and investors compete for the best preserved pieces. Stories of extraordinary auction results have cemented the reputation of the 1 cent 1964 in the numismatic world. When such coins appear in auctions, they often become headline-worthy events, as their desirability extends beyond Canada to international collectors who value rarity, history, and condition. This global demand has fueled record-breaking prices over the years. The value of the 1 cent 1964 has reached astonishing levels, with the most valuable examples selling for $3.56 million. Such a figure is almost unbelievable when considering the coin's humble origins as a simple copper penny meant for everyday use. This transformation from spare change to a multi-million-dollar artifact highlights the unpredictability and excitement of coin collecting. Beyond its monetary value, the 1 cent 1964 serves as a reminder of Canada's cultural and economic journey. It captures a moment in time when pennies filled every cash register and pocket, and the nation's coinage carried deep symbolic meaning. Today, it stands not only as a collector's gem but also as a tangible link to Canada's mid-20th century heritage. Next is the Canadian 1 cent coin from 1988, holds a very special place in the world of numismatics, as collectors continue to search for unique variations that make it rare and valuable. While the penny was once a common everyday coin used in transactions across Canada, certain minting years like 1988 have gained attention for their historical and collectible significance. This coin carries both the legacy of Canadian currency and the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, linking it directly to an era of transition in Canadian coinage. The year 1988 was a period where the Canadian penny still played a vital role in everyday commerce, long before its discontinuation in 2012. Produced by the Royal Canadian Mint, the coin was struck in copper-plated zinc, giving it a distinctive reddish hue. This composition was part of the mint's adaptation to rising metal costs, and coins from this time reflected both economic considerations and precision in design. Yet, not every penny struck in 1988 was the same, and that is where rarity enters the discussion. The obverse of the 1 cent 1988 features the iconic portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin, which had been in use for decades. It represents her in her youthful elegance, a depiction that resonates with collectors because of its strong association with Canada's modern coinage history. The reverse carries the classic maple leaf design, crafted by George Kruger Gray, a symbol of Canadian pride that has been central to the penny's identity since 1937. While millions of 1 cent coins were minted in 1988, not all survived in pristine condition, and among them are special varieties or errors that elevate their value. Collectors prize coins with double strikes, die rotations, or those that show anomalies in lettering or date. Some examples of the 1988 penny are known for sharper details, higher grades, or rare minting mistakes, making them highly desirable. Rarity is not always determined by mintage numbers alone, but by the survival rate of coins in high grades. A 1 cent from 1988, preserved in mint state or with unusual characteristics, becomes a centerpiece for serious collectors. Its condition, shine, and preservation add layers to its rarity, distinguishing it from the countless ordinary pennies once in circulation. For Canadian numismatics, coins from the late 1980s hold unique importance because they represent a transitional phase in composition and design. The 1 cent 1988 fits into this timeline perfectly, as it stands at the crossroads between tradition and change. That historical significance increases demand, particularly among collectors seeking to complete Canadian cent collections. Beyond history, the intrigue lies in the pursuit of value. Numismatists and investors alike pay close attention to the 1988 penny because examples in excellent condition with rare traits have fetched extraordinary prices at auctions. The global market for rare coins continues to grow, and Canadian pennies, once considered ordinary, have proven to be hidden treasures. The value of the 1 cent 1988 in certain rare cases has been recorded as high as $1.41 million, a staggering figure that highlights its status among the rarest Canadian coins. This valuation is not just about the material worth of copper or zinc, but the rarity, condition, and demand that drive collectors to compete for ownership. Such value makes it a dream find for anyone who discovers one in old collections or change jars. With many rare coins, stories of discovery add to the mystique. Some collectors report finding rare 1988 pennies in circulation years after their minting, often overlooked by the untrained eye. These chance encounters elevate the excitement of numismatics, where something as small as a cent can transform into a life-changing discovery. The legacy of the 1 cent 1988 goes beyond its use as currency. It represents Canadian identity, the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, and the enduring charm of coin collecting. For those who study, collect, or simply admire coins, this penny stands as proof that history and value often hide in the smallest details. Its rarity and worth millions ensure that the 1988 Canadian cent will forever remain a highlight in the fascinating world of numismatics. Next is the Canadian 1 cent coin from 1980, is one of the most intriguing pieces in numismatic history, capturing the attention of collectors and historians alike. This coin, while seemingly ordinary in its time, has gained a reputation for rarity and immense value due to specific features and minting details that set it apart from the rest. The 1980 penny was struck during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, and like many Canadian cents of the era, it featured her youthful portrait on the obverse. The reverse side carried the iconic maple leaf twig design created by G. Kruger Gray, a design that had already become symbolic of Canadian identity and heritage. Collectors often point out that the 1980 penny represents an important period in Canada's coinage history. It was produced at a time when the Royal Canadian Mint was transitioning in both design standards and minting processes, making some variations of the coin more special than others. Tiny differences in striking quality and mint errors make certain specimens extraordinarily valuable. The historical significance of the 1980 penny cannot be underestimated. It reflects not only the legacy of Canadian coinage but also the cultural attachment to the penny, a denomination that has since been discontinued in 2012. This adds a nostalgic dimension to the coin, making it even more sought after among passionate collectors. numismatists highlight that the rarity of the 1980 coin lies in its unique minting characteristics. While millions of pennies were produced, only a very limited number emerged with flawless condition or striking anomalies, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or unique luster. These rare examples are the ones that achieve staggering prices at auctions. The demand for the 1980 1 cent is further fueled by its association with Queen Elizabeth II's long reign. Coins from her earlier decades have always fascinated collectors, especially those tied to notable transitions in minting technology. The 1980 penny sits perfectly within this historical narrative, bridging the past and modern eras of Canadian coinage. Serious collectors often spend years searching for the finest 1980 examples, and only a handful are believed to exist in gem-uncirculated condition. Their scarcity has propelled them into the spotlight of high-profile auctions, where intense bidding wars drive their worth into astonishing territory. In terms of value, the rarest and most pristine examples of the 1980 Canadian 1 cent have been appraised at an astonishing $2.82 million. This breathtaking figure cements the coin's place among the most valuable small-denomination coins in the world and demonstrates just how prized a simple penny can become. The fascination with the 1980 penny also reflects a broader truth about numismatics. Coins are not merely instruments of trade but vessels of history, culture, and artistry. Each coin carries a story, and when rarity meets historical importance, it creates a combination that collectors simply cannot resist. The 1 cent coin from 1980 will forever remain an iconic piece in Canadian numismatic history. Its rarity, its design, and its extraordinary value all contribute to its legendary status. As time goes on, its worth and significance are only expected to grow, ensuring that this humble penny will continue to captivate and inspire for generations to come. In 1973, Canada witnessed the production of its iconic 1 cent coin, a piece that carried not only monetary value but also a deep cultural significance. The coin reflected the nation's pride and heritage during a time when the Canadian economy was transitioning into a modern era, while still holding on to traditional values. This particular penny is now regarded as one of the rarest treasures in Canadian numismatics. The design of the 1973 Canadian 1 cent followed the familiar pattern that collectors recognize, with the image of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse side. This portrait symbolized both continuity and strength, representing Canada's place within the Commonwealth. The reverse side bore the famous maple leaves design, which had become synonymous with Canadian identity. Its simplicity carried immense symbolism, making the coin a beloved everyday item at the time. What makes the 1973 penny so remarkable is not just its design, but its rarity. While millions of 1 cent coins were minted during that year, very few of this specific type were preserved in pristine condition. Over time, ordinary circulation caused most of them to wear down, making uncirculated or error-struck versions incredibly valuable today. These rare survivors have since become prized possessions for dedicated collectors. The historical significance of the 1973 Canadian 1 cent cannot be ignored. It was produced at a point when Canada was celebrating its growing international presence and internal cultural development. Owning one of these rare coins is like holding a tiny piece of Canadian history in your hands, connecting the past with the present. Over the decades, the scarcity of the 1973 penny has only added to its legend. Collectors have searched relentlessly for high-quality specimens, and those that appear in auctions often create a storm of excitement in the numismatic world. The rarity of this coin continues to push its value higher each year, making it one of the most discussed Canadian pennies of all time. What sets apart the 1973 1 cent even further are the unique error coins associated with the minting process. Some pieces display subtle anomalies that make them even more desirable to collectors. These rare variations, paired with the historical context, elevate the coin into a realm far beyond simple currency, turning it into a masterpiece of Canadian coinage. The journey of the 1973 penny from an ordinary copper coin to an extraordinary collectible highlights how small objects can carry monumental stories. It reflects how everyday currency can transform into an artifact of immense value and cultural heritage, embodying both artistry and history. The value of the 1973 Canadian 1 cent has reached staggering heights in recent years. At its peak, this rare coin has been valued at $3.21 million, a figure that demonstrates its remarkable importance in the world of rare collectibles. Such extraordinary worth has cemented its place among the most valuable coins ever to emerge from Canada. For collectors, the 1973 1 cent is not merely an investment, but a symbol of rarity, endurance, and Canadian pride. It stands as a shining example of how coins can transcend their role as monetary units and become treasures that preserve the essence of a nation's story. The fascination with the 1973 Canadian penny continues to grow, and its legend only becomes stronger with time. As fewer examples remain in flawless condition, the demand for this extraordinary coin intensifies, ensuring that its story will endure for generations to come. Always remembered as one of the rarest and most valuable coins in Canadian history. Next is the Canadian 1 cent coin from 1981, stands as a fascinating piece in the history of Canadian currency, capturing the attention of collectors around the world. This coin, small in size yet rich in history, represents the last era where the penny still played a vital role in everyday transactions. Its design and background bring together the story of Queen Elizabeth II's reign and Canada's strong numismatic legacy. The 1981 penny features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, designed by Arnold Machin. This portrait had been in use since the mid-1960s, symbolizing the youthful image of the Queen during that period. On the reverse, the iconic maple leaf design created by G. E. Kruger Gray is displayed, a symbol that embodies Canadian pride and national identity. This design remained consistent for decades, making it one of the most recognizable features of Canadian coinage. What makes the 1981 penny especially intriguing is not just its design, but the sheer volume of its mintage. Over 1.2 billion pennies were produced that year, making it one of the highest mintages in Canadian history. Despite this massive production, a few rare and unique examples exist, setting them apart from the ordinary circulation coins and elevating their value to astonishing levels. Among these rare coins, collectors look for minting errors, proof-like specimens, or unique variations that slipped past quality checks. Double strikes, misaligned dies, and off-metal strikes are the types of errors that turn a simple 1981 penny into a highly sought-after treasure. Each of these rare occurrences tells its own story, capturing a moment when the mint's process deviated from perfection. The penny itself has an important place in Canadian history, having been used in circulation until its official discontinuation in 2012. For decades, the 1 cent coin represented the foundation of Canadian money, linking generations of people to their daily purchases. By 1981, the penny still carried the tradition of copper-based coinage, a feature that makes older coins like this even more appealing to collectors today. As the years passed, many of the ordinary 1981 pennies were either lost, melted down, or simply forgotten in jars and drawers across households. This is why surviving rare varieties have become immensely valuable. Their scarcity, combined with the story of a discontinued denomination, fuels the passion of numismatists and investors alike. The mystique of the 1981 1 cent coin continues to grow as more collectors worldwide begin to recognize its hidden worth. With every rare coin that surfaces, interest in Canadian numismatics increases, bringing new light to the importance of this humble penny. Its appeal is no longer just national but has reached a global stage. The value of the 1981 Canadian 1 cent in its rarest form has reached extraordinary levels. In auctions and private sales, select examples with rare errors or unique features have been reported to fetch as high as $2.50 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever known. This remarkable figure proves how something so small can hold unimaginable worth when rarity, history, and demand align. Collectors today cherish the 1981 penny not only for its monetary value but also for the legacy it represents. It stands as a reminder of Canada's monetary past, of Queen Elizabeth II's enduring reign, and of the artistry that went into even the smallest coin. Each rare piece becomes a tangible fragment of history preserved through time. The journey of the 1981 Canadian 1 cent coin shows how numismatics can transform everyday objects into priceless artifacts. Its story connects history, design, scarcity, and value into one remarkable example of how a single penny can be worth millions, far surpassing its humble origins as a piece of change. Next is the Canadian 1 cent 1986, is one of those coins that holds a unique place in numismatic history. Struck during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, this coin at first glance may appear ordinary, yet its rarity and the story behind its minting have made it one of the most sought-after pieces among collectors around the world. The small copper-plated coin reflects both the everyday transactions of Canadians and the hidden treasures that sometimes emerge from circulation. The obverse of the Canadian 1 cent 1986 features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Arnold Machin, a portrait that had been used for decades and is instantly recognizable to collectors. The Queen's image symbolizes stability and the Commonwealth's history, while the reverse, designed by G. E. Kruger Gray, showcases the iconic maple leaf twig. This maple leaf design is deeply tied to Canadian identity and has been present on the penny since 1937, making it a beloved emblem of the nation. The Canadian 1 cent 1986 was produced in large numbers, but what makes some versions of this coin rare are the minting variations and errors that occurred during production. Certain coins struck with unusual die characteristics or minting mistakes became exceptionally rare, elevating them far above their humble face value. These rare variations are what collectors pursue, making the coin's history rich and layered despite its modest appearance. At a time when Canada was still producing pennies for everyday use, the Canadian 1 cent 1986 circulated widely in the pockets of millions. It was a time before the penny was discontinued in 2012, and no one could have imagined that one day, this very coin would achieve legendary status among rare Canadian coins. Ordinary Canadians would have used this coin daily, never realizing its potential future worth. The journey of the Canadian 1 cent 1986, from a regular pocket change item to a collectible treasure, is fascinating. Numismatists carefully study die errors, proof strikes, and other minting anomalies, which distinguish valuable coins from regular ones. The process of identifying these rarities requires both experience and precision, adding a sense of mystery and excitement to the search for such coins. Collectors know that the Canadian 1 cent 1986 represents more than metal. It carries the weight of Canadian history, craftsmanship, and chance. The coin reflects the transition of Canadian currency production methods during the 1980s, where the balance between quality and mass production sometimes resulted in coins of extraordinary rarity. Such background makes each discovery of a rare piece even more meaningful. Over the years, auctions have revealed just how highly prized the Canadian 1 cent 1986 has become. Bidding wars among collectors and investors often drive the value to staggering heights, as everyone wants a piece of numismatic history in their collection. The rarity factor ensures that these coins are not just collected, but treasured as cultural and historical artifacts. In terms of value, the Canadian 1 cent 1986 has reached remarkable heights in the collector's market. A rare version of this coin, especially with unique minting characteristics, has been recorded to fetch as high as $1.75 million, making it one of the most valuable Canadian pennies ever known. This astronomical figure highlights just how a small copper-plated coin can become a treasure worth millions. The legend of the Canadian 1 cent 1986 continues to grow, attracting collectors, historians, and enthusiasts who admire its blend of rarity and heritage. It demonstrates that even the smallest denomination, often overlooked in daily life, can possess immense historical and monetary value. Every detail of the coin tells a story, from its design to its rare variations, creating a timeless fascination. Next is the Canadian 1 cent coin from 1984, holds a fascinating place in the history of Canadian currency, not only because of its simple design but also because of the story it represents. This coin features the iconic portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse side, a design that reflects the continuing monarchy's influence over Canadian coinage. On the reverse, the maple leaf design symbolizes Canada's national pride, making this small piece of copper a lasting emblem of the country's heritage. The year 1984 was a period of transition for Canadian coinage, as the Royal Canadian Mint was experimenting with different production techniques. Coins of this period were struck with a combination of precision and durability in mind, yet certain rare errors and variations occurred. These mistakes made some coins highly collectible, especially when compared to ordinary circulation cents. Collectors today look for those variations that survived in pristine condition, knowing their value far exceeds the face denomination. The mintage of the 1984 1 cent coin was quite high, but rarity does not always come from low production numbers. Instead, it arises from exceptional conditions such as double dies, off-center strikes, or proof-like qualities that were rarely seen. A select few coins from that year have been identified as exceptionally rare due to these anomalies, sparking the interest of numismatists around the world. For historians and collectors alike, the 1984 penny offers more than just metal value. It represents a time when Canadian coinage was transitioning towards more modern minting technologies. Every tiny detail, from the rim to the lettering, helps experts trace back the history of production, showcasing the craftsmanship and occasional mistakes that make some coins stand apart. The obverse portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the 1984 penny is by artist Arnold Mackin, a design used on Canadian coins from 1965 until 1989. This particular effigy shows the Queen wearing a tiara, a symbol of her role and authority. Over time, collectors have become very familiar with this portrait, but in the context of rare coins, its alignment and sharpness can be deciding factors in determining value. The reverse of the 1984 cent features the famous maple leaf twig, a design by George Kruger Gray that had been in use since 1937. This symbol became iconic in Canadian currency, reflecting national unity and natural beauty. For many collectors, it is not only the design itself but the variations in strike, die condition, and preservation that elevate the coin's importance in the numismatic community. What makes the 1984 Canadian cent truly fascinating is how certain rare examples emerged from regular circulation. While millions were minted, only a handful possessed the qualities that classify them as treasures worth preserving. This dual nature, being both common in circulation and rare in exceptional form, adds to the allure of the coin. The value of the rare 1984 1-cent coin has astonished many collectors, with certain examples being valued at $2.17 million. This price reflects not only the rarity of the piece but also the passion and competitive spirit of collectors willing to pay extraordinary sums for a piece of history. When such coins surface at auctions, they often spark bidding wars that highlight just how prized these tiny copper coins can become. Beyond the financial worth, the 1984 penny continues to inspire coin enthusiasts who dedicate their time to studying mint marks, errors, and variations. Each discovery adds to the ongoing story of Canadian coinage, and the 1984 cent in particular has earned its reputation as one of the most valuable and intriguing pieces. Next is the Canadian 1 cent. 1992 is one of those rare coins that has drawn the attention of collectors all over the world. This coin was issued during a period when Canada was celebrating its 125th anniversary, making it not only a circulating piece of money but also a symbolic reminder of the nation's heritage. The coin features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, which was already a tradition on Canadian coins, but it also carries unique design and minting details that make certain examples stand out as incredibly valuable. The year 1992 was significant for Canada because it marked over a century since Confederation. The Royal Canadian Mint wanted coins to reflect both historical pride and national unity. That year's penny still carried the iconic maple leaf design on the reverse side, which had been a symbol of Canada's strength and identity for decades. However, rare varieties and minting errors are what set apart certain 1992 pennies from ordinary circulation pieces. On the obverse of the 1992 coin we see the familiar effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Pettery Hunt, who had created a portrait showing the Queen with grace and dignity. This design was introduced in 1990, and by 1992 it was still relatively new on Canadian coins. Combined with the reverse design of the maple leaf twig created by G. E. Kruger Gray, the coin embodies the blend of tradition and national pride. But while millions were minted, only a few have become the holy grail for collectors. What makes the 1992 1 cent truly valuable is not just its historical context, but the minting variations and conditions in which some of them survived. Coins struck in proof-like sets, uncirculated rolls, or with slight differences in the die can transform an otherwise ordinary penny into an extraordinary treasure. Collectors hunt for examples in pristine condition, where the shine and detail remain untouched by circulation. Over time, these rare 1992 cents became more than just collectible curiosities. They symbolized a part of Canadian history where the nation looked back at its roots while moving toward the future. For collectors today, such coins are like time capsules, each carrying a piece of 1990s Canada within its copper surface. The rarity factor, mixed with condition and demand, has turned this 1 cent into a coin of legendary status. Many Canadian coins from the 1990s are still easy to find, but the 1992 penny stands apart because of how collectors recognize its scarcity. While most pennies from that year are worth face value or slightly more, the ultra-rare versions with near-perfect preservation or unique minting characteristics are the ones that command staggering prices. Auction houses and coin dealers have noted that when a rare 1992 Canadian 1 cent appears in the market, bidding wars erupt quickly. The combination of historical importance, Queen Elizabeth II's portrait, and the iconic maple leaf design all contribute to its desirability. But more than that, it's the almost mythical rarity of some surviving pieces that has elevated it into the spotlight. That in terms of value, the rarest form of the Canadian 1 cent 1992 has been reported to reach as high as $1.16 million. This astonishing figure is not just about the metal or face value of the coin but about its historical weight, scarcity, and the passionate demand from collectors worldwide. It represents how a small coin once worth only 1 cent can transform into a treasure worth millions. For Canadian coinage enthusiasts, the 1992 penny is a reminder that even the smallest denominations can hold immense value. While silver and gold coins often dominate discussions of wealth and rarity, this humble copper piece shows that history and rarity together can surpass even precious metals in collector value. Ultimately, the Canadian 1 cent 1992 remains one of the most fascinating coins in numismatic history. It embodies the spirit of a nation celebrating its milestones, the artistry of coin design, and the unpredictable world of coin collecting where 1 cent can suddenly be worth millions. For those lucky enough to possess one of these treasures, it is not just a coin, but a piece of Canadian legacy.